Ladies and gentlemen, we are live again. Sober Grind, back in the house.
Back in the house.
Back in the house. How are you, ladies and gentlemen?
How's everybody?
As always, my name is Austin Armstrong, and I'm joined by my special friend.
Pej.
It's a pleasure.
Pej here.
It's a pleasure as
How's
always.
everybody doing today?
Today, we have another amazing topic. Might be a little hard to get into this.
Why is that?
Well,
Explain.
because that's what...
Care to elaborate?
Yeah, I would love to elaborate.
Okay.
So we're going to be talking about why it's so hard to reach out for help. Help as in recovery. Okay. You're struggling. So there's a lot of things that go in here, and I'd love to hear your opinions as well. So if there's anything on your mind, whether it be for you or for your loved one, leave us that in the comments below, and we'll address that live. So, Pej, let's just start. Why do you think that it's oftentimes so hard to ask for help?
Well, you know, it's interesting that you asked that question. I was somewhere today where the reason I even thought about this topic for today was because I was somewhere where this was a topic and people were talking about it, and a few friends had mentioned that
very timely.
A lot of times ego and pride will get in the way of people asking for help. Now, is that always true, that somebody's ego and pride gets in the way of them getting help? When you're engulfed in your disease or your addiction or your alcoholism, sometimes you don't want to get help. So it's not even a matter of ego and pride. I think it's just a matter of you like to numb out and you don't think you have a problem. So in your own mind, you're minimizing your own addictions, right? So, and then also there's a lot of times when people are being enabled by family members.
Sure.
So why would they ask for help when somebody's nurturing their addiction? If they're harboring the addict, alcoholic, if they're allowing them to live in their home and they still are using and drinking there, how do they think that they need help? You know, it's like their safe haven for them to be able to use, drink, do whatever they want at home, and so it's not like they're really desperate. I think that oftentimes, more so than none, people that really, really do end up asking for help run out of options completely. So when they have nothing else going for them and they're absolutely completely licked and desperate, that's when they'll ask for help. And you know, but it's a tough thing to do. I mean, I speak from my own experience. My biggest fear was to ask for help. You know, it was like I knew something was wrong. I knew while I was stuck in the abyss of my addiction, I probably should ask for help. I probably should, but I didn't know how. And a lot of people don't know how. They don't know who to ask and how to go about it.
Yeah.
And then also, I think there's also, when it comes to ego and pride, though, ego and pride will definitely make you think that people would judge you. They'll look down on you. They'll think less of you. They'll think that you never amounted to anything and you're a complete loser, drug addict, alcoholic, whatever. So there's a lot to it.
Got it.
Yeah.
So, I want to go into, I think that's a great segue into figuring out how to actually...
Video ended.
Yeah, I know, but we're still live on beginnings. Actually, how to ask for help in different ways. So what are some common ways that someone would ask for help? I know there's a lot of different ways. Is it talking to a specific family member? Is it researching on your own?
Well, again, you know, if somebody... So, you know, like in a lot of schools, they have a counseling department. And they know if their students are under the influence, they're readily available and they make themselves available to be able to assist the student in finding their way. A lot of businesses have HR departments. So you can go to the HR department. You don't necessarily want to go say, I'm suffering from alcoholism or addiction, or I'm using drugs, because then you think you might get fired. A lot of people are reluctant to doing that. So that fear is there that if I tell on myself, this may hurt me. This may this may affect me job-wise, you know, as far as school-wise, maybe the counselor. And I'm saying this from my own personal experience. I went to the Art Institute, and when I was at the Art Institute, my life wasn't going right. I was crashing cars continually. I was late for class. I was put on academic probation. I was afraid, you know, and I knew that. I went to go talk to a counselor, and I wanted to let them know that the reason I'm falling short and falling behind in school was because it's overwhelming, it's too much, but heaven forbid I wasn't going to admit to them I'm a full-blown drug addict, and the reason that I'm not making it to class on time or finishing my assignments or doing well on the tests and nodding out in class is because I do a lot of drugs. You know, so there's that fear, you know, it's like, who do you talk to? And if you've never been familiar with the recovery community or have never been acquainted with it, it's hard to know who to talk to or who the right person would be to guide you in the right direction.
That's great advice. So what about some alternative ways? So say you're an extremely introverted person that doesn't want to even put yourself in that scenario to reach out to an HR department or reach out to a friend or a family member. I know some treatment center websites and whatnot have different forums and different things that you could reach out. What are some of these alternative ways that you recommend or can think of so that someone can maybe go online and talk to someone through chat or through some means that is less invasive in their mind?
Well, I think in this day and age, there's plenty of resources online where I'm sure if you just typed into Google that you could, you know, I'm struggling with drug addiction, you're probably going to get a slew of different treatment centers that'll come at you left and right to try to get you into their center. But you can also say forums, you know, like asking about forums. Then on Facebook's a great tool to utilize for those types of forums. And depending on who you are and if you filter through them and see what you find more suitable to your needs, you can find good ones. Obviously, we have the Ask an Addiction Specialist forum where you can ask people in that forum about your drug addiction if you are suffering, if you have a loved one that's suffering. You can also, you know, and then we have professionals that are in there or people that are in recovery that would be readily available to answer these types of questions. There's a lot of other forums. You know, there's forums for mothers and fathers that have lost their kids, and they're dedicating their lives to be of service to people and helping assist them in doing the right things for their children as opposed to the wrong things. So, you know, there's a lot of, I'm sure there's a lot of other pages. I haven't really investigated them that much to speak on them, but there's a lot of other pages that are recovery pages. You know, there's a lot of 12-step communities. You know, there's a few pages that I'm actually linked to and involved with that we come and talk about recovery. We talk about we raise provocative questions. We like to ask questions. We like to see what other people's takes are on recovery and how they're doing the recovery. And then we also like to talk to the people that are struggling, because someone's always struggling. Someone's always hurting, and someone's always too afraid to ask for help. It's just the nature of the beast.
I think there's a couple apps online for your phone too. I think In the Rooms is a good forum.
There's a meeting finder one in the rooms. There's a lot of different apps.
That's great
to be able to find those forums or meetings in your local area that you can go and catch a meeting.
Catch a meeting. Catch a meeting, everyone. I want to open this up again to all of our viewers, listeners, and watchers. If maybe you're struggling to ask for help, or you have a loved one or a friend, let us know in the comments what you're going through. Maybe we can help you. Maybe we can give you some clarity. That's exactly why we're here.
Yes.
But to keep going on here, so what's some actionable tips, even more so if someone's watching this right now? For instance, they're on the fence. They don't know what to do. They don't know what to ask. What are a couple good things that you would advise to just take that jump?
My advice is that if you have no experience with recovery, if you've never attempted to get sober before, if that's not even a concept that's fathomable in your mind, if you don't even know what true recovery is, and that when I say true recovery or being completely sober, that means being abstinent from all mind-altering substances, as in, pure abstinence. You are not using anything that affects you from the head up. So if you have no experience with this, you've never actually been in that type of environment, and you are sick and tired of being sick and tired, and your lifestyle's not working for you, and you feel like the drugs have caught up to you, and that you're not doing well, and that your job may be at risk, your family may be at risk, or job loss and things like that. There's help out there. There's help out there, and there's plenty of people who can help you. I'm one of them. I'm connected to a whole slew of people that can help. you know, and that's what we do. Now, if you are familiar, you already know where to go and you know what to do. And if you don't know that we are here for you always. We're not standing here in judgment of, I mean, I can speak for myself and many of the people around me. And what I really love about our recovery community more locally here in Southern California is that we don't shoot our wounded. So if somebody's suffering and they've gone back out, we are always waiting for them at the gates of sobriety with open arms. So we let them know we love you, we care about you. Let us help you learn. Let us love you until you learn to love yourself. That's one of the classic sayings. Yeah,
I love that. That's great. So do we have any comments coming in? Doesn't seem so at this point. All right. Is there any additional things that you want to discuss about asking for help and how to ask?
No, I mean, I can't emphasize it enough. There's plenty of help out there. And then, see, there's different types of help. Obviously, there's different types of people that have different types of addiction and different types of support. There's the homeless man who has nothing and no family and is living on the streets. Yeah. So how does that one get the help that he needs? Well, obviously there's shelters, and then there's also various agencies that or nonprofit organizations that will help that man get off the streets. If you're in LA, you have the Downtown Mission. If you're in Orange County, there's the Soup Kitchen, and there's other different places like Charlie Street, and you know, they're indigent facilities, but they definitely help people get off the street. I'm talking like garden variety drunks or full-blown drug addicts that are living out on the streets with hardly anything to their name except for their shirt on their back. And these places will open their doors to people as long as the person is willing. Yeah. But the person has to be completely willing and go in without any defense or their guards up, because if they go in, there's a lot of people that go in those places and they end up leaving within a few days.
Yeah.
Why would you leave the place that's the last house on the block? It's, you know, it doesn't make sense.
Egoic mind.
And it happens.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it happens. And for many different reasons. I mean, so many different people have their own mentalities. So some people, they come in, they may have a lot of trauma and things like that. But the fact is that if you go there and you learn from the ones that came before you and that got their lives back, that gives you hope. Now, then there's other people that they may want to go to treatment, and they might want to use their insurance. Like some people don't have the proper insurance to get into certain treatment centers. Some people have the type of insurance that will get them into certain treatment centers. So either way, I've become sort of the source that a lot of people call and assisting people into getting certain places. I just had a friend that came out from Cleveland. I've known him for years, probably about 4, 5, 6 years, and he used to be in several different treatment centers. For some reason, you know, treatment centers weren't working out for him. It wasn't helping him. He would sit in lots and lots of groups and do lots and lots of individual therapy, but for some reason, every time he would go back home to Cleveland, he would end up getting loaded again. So, you know, he lost some close people to him. He's been really down about that. Yeah. But he's also been lost in his own addiction. And more recently, I helped him get out to California. Now, he needed a detox. Yeah. And when you're using heroin or you're doing Xanax or you're doing, you know, buprenorphine or these types of things, you're going to need a medical detox. You know, Suboxone, you're going to need a detox. Yesterday, a guy called me and he said he needed help, and he's just on Suboxone. I said, well, you're going to need to get off of that. Right. So you're going to need to go through detox. So, I mean, it's best that they do. Some people just dry out somewhere, but they have to make that absolute decision to stop. So how do you get them to stop? They got to ask for help, and then they have to listen to whatever help is given to them. So, you know, I brought this guy in from Cleveland. He came in, he detoxed, and his family couldn't afford treatment. So the next best step is to put him in a sober living and have him get plugged into the 12-step community, which he did, and he either does it or he doesn't do it. It's just that simple. You know what I mean?
He's out here in California?
He's out here in California now.
That kind of goes back to some of the previous episodes and topics that we've had, that if you go back to the same environment, it's much more likely that it's just not going to work out for you, right? So you almost
depending on who you are and how serious you're taking your recovery.
Sure.
So there's a lot of people that, you know, they get sober, but they make that absolute decision that I'm here to stay. I understand. In the recovery community, they say one day at a time. Yeah. And the type of people that raised me in recovery said, one day at a time. We do this thing one day at a time for the rest of our lives. Because you have to come to that conclusion within yourself where you get honest with your innermost self that, hey, you know what? Left to my own devices, every time I go back, I'm banging my head into a wall. And every time I'm banging my head into a wall, I'm not getting anywhere in life. So either I do this recovery thing the way the people that are doing recovery do it, or I do it my way again. And my way usually gets me loaded, you know, or high, or drunk, or in trouble to where I get locked up again. So either I do it or I don't. So, I mean, a guy like me, I took it very seriously. In Southern California, wherever I went was a place that I probably used. So when I took it seriously, once I changed my mentality and my behaviors and my actions, it was okay for me to go back home. As opposed to some people, they get triggered. You know, so I think it all depends on the seriousness of the person and how serious they're taking their recovery.
That's great. Well, Pej, thank you so much for this amazing actionable advice for how to ask for help.
Thank you.
In various different ways so that you can figure out exactly what works for you.
Thank you.
We'll see you again next week, next time, for another amazing and fun episode of Sober Grind. If you have any questions afterwards, make sure you can always reach us at Austin or Pej at beginningstreatment.com. We'd both be happy to answer your questions. Join our amazing community, our Facebook group that Pej mentioned earlier. It's in the link of this video, but it's called Ask an Addiction Specialist. You can just search for it there. And you can go and reach Beginnings Treatment Centers at any time. They are all levels of care, and they will really take care of you. You can call them directly at 800-387-6907. Pej, it's always a pleasure, my friend.